It looks like Donald Trump may have just made the single biggest misstep of the entire trade war, and Beijing saw it coming from a mile away. While he's firing off threats in every direction, China is sitting back, quietly outmaneuvering him. And here's the kicker. America's closest allies, from Canada to Europe to Japan, are furious. The G7? Fractured. Trump's grand strategy? Crumbling in real time. Let's walk through what just happened. Only days ago, Trump bragged that tariffs on Chinese goods could soar as high as 55%. The message was meant to intimidate. But when both sides were supposed to meet to finalize a trade deal, China abruptly walked away. According to sources close to the talks, Beijing simply doesn't take these threats seriously. So how did Washington respond? Quietly, almost nervously, the U.S. postponed the meeting and delayed the tariffs. Why? Because deep down, they know they can't pull this off without China. Instead of recalibrating the plan, Trump went on the offensive against allies. He slapped Canada with a crushing 35% tariff, Switzerland with 39%, and even Taiwan, America's most critical microchip partner, with 20%. Punishing friends while sparing rivals. Where's the logic in that? The result? Chaos. Prices climbing. U.S. businesses under pressure. Longtime partners turning away. And China? Silent. Patient. Watching Trump dig deeper into his own political quicksand. The G7 is splintering. U.S. inflation is ticking higher. Jobs in key sectors are looking less secure. Global supply chains, already fragile, are beginning to buckle. And yet, in the middle of the storm, the White House insists it's all part of a reset. Look at Europe, now hit with a 15% tariff under this so-called fair trade policy. Leaders there livid. Canada? Blindsided with 35% tariffs, no talks, no compromises, no warning. The official explanation? Fentanyl. The U.S. claims it's being smuggled from Canada, but few believe it's the real reason. To many, it looks like a political excuse dressed up as policy. While Washington lashes out, Beijing plays the long game. No outbursts. No reactionary moves. Just patience, and a growing sense that the balance of power is shifting. So, here's the real question. Is Trump rewriting the rules of trade, or just writing the final chapter of America's leadership in it? While Trump points fingers, others are bearing the real costs. And it's not just Americans paying more at the checkout counter. Canadian exporters are sinking. European manufacturers are bracing for layoffs. Small businesses across the G7 are in panic mode. For many, this isn't a temporary setback, it's game over. What we're seeing now isn't genuine economic policy. It's political pressure dressed up as reform. Trump isn't using tariffs to protect American workers. He's using them as a blunt instrument to force allies into submission. The numbers don't tell the full story anymore. This is about power. Meanwhile, China is playing an entirely different game. While Trump postures and provokes, Beijing watches quietly, calculating every move like a seasoned strategist. No angry press conferences. No social media tirades. Just patience, precision, and a plan. And it's working. While Canada pleads for a European-style exemption, China quietly secures something no one else could, a 90-day delay on new tariffs. And they didn't just get it handed to them, they negotiated for it. That alone shows the strength of their position and how deeply Washington fears a total breakdown in U.S. China trade. The truth is, America doesn't just depend on China for cheap electronics or holiday toys. China is at the heart of the U.S. consumer economy. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, in 2024, China accounted for more than 16% of all American imports, from smartphones and clothing to pharmaceuticals. If shipments from China stopped tomorrow, shelves in major U.S. retailers would be stripped bare in weeks. Take Walmart as an example. Around 60% of its entire inventory comes directly from China. This isn't just a business fact. For millions of low-income American families, these supply chains are the only thing keeping everyday essentials affordable. And here's where Beijing's real leverage lies. Rare earth metals. These are the critical elements powering electric vehicles, smartphones, advanced weapon systems, and the U.S. has no easy substitute. China controls over 70% of the global supply. If they decide to cut exports, America's tech industry could grind to a halt. So while the White House tries to frame this as a battle for fair trade, the reality is simple. China is holding the stronger cards. And right now, they're in no hurry to play them. Whether India will continue this course is no longer the question. The question is how far they're willing to go. And all signs point to all the way. Vehicles, fighter jets, medical devices, smartphones. These all rely on rare earth metals, and China controls nearly 70% of global production. It has already hinted that access for the United States could be restricted at any moment. This isn't an empty threat. Back in 2010, when Beijing cut exports to Japan, the country's tech sector nearly collapsed. If China repeats that move against America today, the result wouldn't just be a trade disruption. It would be an economic blackout. While Trump lashes out at allies, China is executing precision strikes in the financial arena. One of the most powerful? Selling U.S. government bonds. In 2024 alone, China dumped more than $100 billion in U.S. debt. For Washington and Wall Street, this is a body blow. The U.S. government depends on debt sales to finance everything from infrastructure to defense. When a major investor like China pulls back, interest rates rise, not just for the government, but for ordinary citizens, small businesses, and entire industries. And Trump knows it. Every bond sale is a quiet but sharp warning. Push us too far, and we'll hit you where it hurts most, your dollar and your market credibility. This is no longer theoretical. In June 2025, China's sell-off triggered a surge in bond yields, forcing the Federal Reserve to intervene. The result? A liquidity drain from the markets and a 600-point plunge in the Dow Jones in a single day. This trade war has now evolved into a full-blown financial confrontation. And China has proven it can hit just as hard without ever raising its voice. Meanwhile, India, once careful not to upset Washington, is charting its own path. Despite U.S. pressure, New Delhi continues buying discounted Russian oil. In 2025, over 34% of India's oil imports came from Russia, up from just 2% before the Ukraine war. America has threatened sanctions and hinted at cutting military cooperation, but India isn't backing down. For them, energy security outweighs diplomatic pressure. The bigger picture is becoming clear. Washington is no longer the unchallenged center of global trade. The world is reorganizing, quietly, strategically, and without waiting for America's approval. To hold the line remains to be seen. But the fact that India is resisting U.S. pressure already signals a deeper shift in the global balance of power. And China has pushed even further. It now openly ignores U.S. sanctions against Russia and Iran, while at the same time expanding trade with both.